Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
It's Friday night. Good evening. This is Ghana Tonight, and I'm Keminni Amanor. Let's bring you the top stories tonight. All eyes are on Akwatia, and 3 political parties go to battle for the thumbs of the voters in keenly contested by-election. Tonight, we bring you a full circle coverage of events on the ground. Also tonight, Ablekuma electoral violence offenders fined 6,000 cedis each, failure of which a 2-year jail sentence kicks in. Tonight, we seek answers as to why this sounds like a slap on the wrist. And also tonight, we do a welfare check in the Sola and Bole districts, where clashes have killed at least 18 people and displaced hundreds more. Tonight, our correspondent goes across the border for a full picture. Oh, those are the big stories. If you're just joining us, you are in time for tonight's edition of Ghana Tonight, as we stream live on TV3 and on 92.7 FM. You may also be watching us on Facebook, YouTube, x.com, 3news.com. And if you'd like to join the conversation, use the hashtag Ghana Tonight. Here's a summary of the night's biggest stories.
The Director General of Operations of the Ghana Police Service, COP Dr. Vance Baba Gariba, has warned that unaccredited individuals will not be allowed to access polling stations or the collation center during the upcoming elections. Briefing the media, he emphasized that the police will enforce a strict zero-tolerance policy on weapons at all election-related venues, including those carried by security aides of ministers and other officials.
We want to emphasize that if you are not accredited to a polling station, you have no business at the polling station, with the exception of those legitimate voters who are going there. The police personnel will get themselves involved in community engagements to reassure the communities, the electorates, that they should not fear. They should all come out and cast their votes, exercise their rights.
The Ghana Journalists Association says it will pursue criminal and civil action against the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwife Association if he fails to retract threatening remarks he made against some journalists. The association is also calling for enhanced security for journalists and urging the media to ensure fair and credible reporting during the upcoming Akwatia by-election. The GJU President Albert Jumfo had this to say.
Dr. Tinkrachu must, within 5 days, retract his reckless comments, issue an unqualified public apology to all journalists in Ghana, and give a clear undertaking that he would never again champion or encourage actions that threaten the safety of journalists in this country. Let there be no doubt, if Dr. Tinkrachu fails to retract and apologize, the GJ reserves the right to pursue legal action.
Former President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, together with top NPP leaders, has joined mourners in Wenchi to observe the 40-day funeral rites of the late Akwatia MP, NST Alkumi. The ceremony brought together party stalwarts including Dr. Mahamudu Baumia, Kennedy Japan, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempe, Alexander Afenyo Markin, and other members of parliament. NPP executive also used the occasion to rally support for their parliamentary candidate Solomon Asumedu ahead of the upcoming by-election in Wenchi. In a show of solidarity, NDC leaders Johnson Asiedu Nketia and Joseph Yamin also attended to sympathize with the bereaved family. The government has launched the School Farm Initiative, a nationwide program targeting more than 5,000 basic junior high and senior high schools by the year 2030. The project aims to train over 250,000 students each year in modern agriculture and agribusiness, with the goal of reducing school feeding costs by 20% while strengthening national food security. Speaking on behalf of the President, the Chief of Staff Julius Deborah hailed the School Farm Initiative as a bold step to transform classrooms into fields of opportunity.
This initiative cannot succeed without the full support of our teachers and parents. I therefore call on NAGRAT, NAT, CCTGH, and all teacher unions to embrace this initiative, not as an additional burden, but as an opportunity to mentor students in practical skills and values that complement classroom learning.
The Upper East Regional Minister Donatus Akamugri Atanga has paid an emergency visit to communities along the White Volta following the Bagri and Kompienga Dam spillage. According to NADMO, the water from the Bagri Dam has already overflowed from the White Volta, and with a distance of about 150 meters, it will soon reach settlements. Donatus Akamugri Atanga assured residents of government support in reducing the impact of the damage.
From here to the bank behind me is about 200 meters away. And so that means the water has spread over a land over 200 meters far away from the bank, the river bank. And so which means that it is advancing towards the community. But I'll take this opportunity to call on the National Disaster Management Organization. We have already written to them to get relief items ready, so that in the event that communities are submerged, then they can come into their aid.
Let's get into some action now. Key numbers you should take note of. 3 days to the election, 3 political parties and 1 parliamentary seat. Now, there's 4 ways this could go. The NPP retains the seat, or the NDC adds to its gallery of seats in parliament, a rerun, or the unlikely event of LPG leading the 2 major political parties. Already, polls are putting the NDC ahead of the NPP. But tonight, what the parties say and how events are unfolding on the ground. All that right now. Tonight, a memorial event held in honor of deceased Akwatia MP Ernest Kumi, former President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, attended the memorial to observe the traditional 40th day funeral rites. He was accompanied by prominent NPP figures, including former Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who you see in the shot, Kennedy Ejapong, former Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Poku Prempeh, Minority Leader Alexander Apenyo Marking, Patricia PJ, the Deputy Minority Leader, and notable members of Parliament from the Eastern region. The memorial took place at a crucial time for both the NPP and the NDC, who have been visibly campaigning ahead of the by-election, which is only now 3 days away. Now, remember those numbers I asked you to keep in mind. Now, national executives of the NPP took advantage of the moment to rally support to retain this seat. Take a listen.
Solomon, no share mine in Sua, and that Sago board on Yaba, minus Muyajuma, who never stop. Now, Bino, I did I'm 13,000. What to swap for me? Yep, coming Buana Solomon, the Copias of Pumbia, 7 minus Momaton, or for Santo Pano. saa gold board ne ma no ɔpani a lawyer ni a wɔtwerɛ krataa boa ma saa gold board ne baeɛ no saa lawyer no ɔka ho bi nti na ma na sɛ mo bra saa lawyer no ɔpɛ sɛ ɔbɛdi mu so no ɔka ho bi ɛna saa gold board no ɛbaeɛ saa nipa a ɔdi ɛso ma ne ayi saa nipa a ɔdi ɛso ma ne ayi.
Now, Justin Frimpong Kodia is General Secretary of the NPP. Let's face it, the NDC has also been doing its groundwork in the Akwatia constituency, as they should. It's only 3 days away from the election. But in a show of bipartisan solidarity, the NDC's national chair, Johnson Asiedun Ketia, and his own entourage of party executives were at the memorial also to pay their last respects. Now, during this period, there was a confrontation. Take a look. So you saw that this confrontation happened when the NDC executives were making their way to perhaps their seats, but we'll get the full story. And that's why Eastern Region correspondent Yvonne Iko is joining us with the big picture. Yvonne, what led to the confrontation?
Okay, Keminni. Today was the day that the New Patriotic Party observed the 40-day memorial on behalf of the deceased MP, Ernest Yakumi. Now, the funeral ground as when she had two, as it were, one entrance and the other exit point. And so when you're coming in, whoever you are, you're moving through the entrance, greets traditionally before you sit down. And so by the minutes and hours, everybody that came from the minority, former delegates, former ministers, and whoever wanted to pay homage filing. Later in the day, in the afternoon, the NDC, led by the national chairman, Asiedun Ketia, the candidates, and some constituency executive also came in to pay their homage or last respect to, in solidarity with the NPP, because they've lost a candidate or an MP who was in parliament for 6 months. As they made their way into the ground and started greeting, a number of mourners hooted and then resisted them from coming because they felt that the candidates of the NDC led the NDC in court for several months against the MP who is now dead until his demise. And so you saw that scuffle between the mourners and then the NDC side trying to resist the hooting and those verbal confrontations coming at them. It lasted for some few minutes, but it did not mar the activity of the day because elders on both sides had to ensure that what was happening between the sympathizers was resolved. And then amicably, the NDC chairman and the others continued their rounds and finally made it up to the top to exchange pleasantries with the former president, Nana Akufo-Addo, former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and others who were on the upper days of the terrace until the event ended today peacefully.
And Yvonne, we are learning that it took the intervention of some executives of the NPP for a resolution on this confrontation, or to dissolve the confrontation, so to speak.
Rightly, as you have said, and I've also earlier mentioned, it has to take some members on both sides to ensure that the scaffold did not extend for a longer period, because this was between sympathizers, of course, several of them women who were mourning and crying because they have been beneficiaries of the MP. And so psychologically and emotionally, you could see that outburst or outpour of emotions when the NDC had entered. And so it was just an outburst of emotion that was soaring when the NDC entered the place. And so in resistance from those who had lined up to give a cover to the NDC chairman and the NDC candidate, you saw that resistance from them as well, creating that scenario. But when those things are happening, within time, it was able to resolve it quickly. And then the event or the ceremony continues as well.
I see, Yvonne, it's only 3 days to the by-election. You hang in there for me. I'm going to come back to you. We'll talk a bit more about how campaign is ongoing on the ground. But let's take a listen to how the NDC as a party formally reacted to the confrontation that took place today. Let's take a look at that. I'll bring you that in a tad. But Yvonne, talk to us. How is campaign on the ground like now?
The ground is getting much and much into this whole political processes. Today, when Ching had that bit of tension, because that is the place where the deceased MP was coming from. So understandably, you could see those emotions come up. But on a wider note, you don't see that in Akwatia, Apinamai, Bridgewater. It's been peaceful so far. Indeed, the conversation on the street is that the by-election is coming on. People are ready to vote. The others who are a bit undermined because of the outpour of the huge number of the police. But the police is assuring them that that should not be an issue for them. They're here to ensure that there is peace, and so nobody should be afraid of coming out to vote. So on a large note, it's been very peaceful so far. Like you did say, we have 3 days to September 2, which is the Tuesday. We're keeping an eye on the ground to see exactly what will happen. We do know that the police have given the assurance and their promise to curb anything that would happen. We're hoping that both sides, largely who are in the race, the NPP and the NDC, would also adhere to it and probably not put situations out of their mind. And then we shall have peaceful elections in this Akwatia constituency.
I see. Yvonne, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for the report. Now I'm unable to bring you visually what the NDC has been talking about, but we know that there's been a statement signed by the Deputy Communications Officer of the party, Godwin Akogan. Now, this statement is calling for the arrest of the attackers of the NDC parliamentary candidate at the one-week commemoration of the death of Ernest Kumi. The statement says the NDC was officially invited to the one-week commemoration. The national chairman led a delegation of national, regional, and members of parliament constituency branch and parliamentary candidates for Akwatia to the event. This unfortunate incident by the NPP caused the widow of Ernest Kumi to break down in tears, seeing such distasteful things at her husband's funeral. The NDC demands a speedy action from the police, else they may have incidents to deal with on or before the day of the election. Essentially, this statement signed by Godwin Akogan is calling for the arrest of what they have described as attackers. Now, we've told you that it was a confrontation of sorts. I want to bring in Richard Kumado quickly, just before I move on to some other issue. Richard, you've heard how things have played out. There was a bit of a confrontation at the funeral. The NDC is calling for the arrest of people they say were attackers. Is this a stretch?
No, I think they are having a fun. It's a fanfare. Why the MPP decided to hold the funeral a few days to the election is another matter. But if you look at the faces there, General Mosquito is a well-known person in this country. All the MPP gurus were there, the former president, the former vice president, the minority leader. Almost everybody, their general secretary was there. So it's just a fanfare. It's unfortunate some hands were thrown and some harsh words were used. But I don't see this to be one of the usual NDC NPP confrontation. It's just a fanfare. Let's allow them. What is important is the police preparedness and the readiness to discharge safety arrangements for the elections on Tuesday.
Indeed.
And that should be the predominant practice here. As for the funeral, it's another thing for another day. So it's just
Absolutely.
a fanfare they had.
Indeed, and Richard, because you've talked about police preparedness, we segue into the next phase of our conversation on the Akwatia by-election now, because the Ghana Police Service is working hard to prevent crime before, during, and after the by-election in Akwatia. Tonight, we have the rare access of Police Situation Room on Akwatia. I want to show you this. Take a look. Well, so now what you're seeing, particularly for those on radio, what we have on television now is the arrival of the IGP. He visited the area today, saw for himself firsthand how things are on the ground. The Police Management Board, led by the Inspector General of Police, Christian Teteyohunu. So that is the arrival you have just seen to assess the security situation ahead of Tuesday's by-election. Now, remember, the police are on high alert for any criminal activities, especially after some guns and ammunition were seized in at least 6 different incidents. The IGP and his men insist on a strict zero-tolerance policy for weapons at all election-related venues, including, now hear this clearly, right, including those carried by security aides of ministers and other officials. So nobody is above the law when it comes to this. So clearly, the IGP is leaving no stone unturned. We also know that the police is planning to prevent, as should be the case, unaccredited individuals from entering polling stations or the collation centers. Here's the Director General of Operations, COP Dr. Vance Babagarba, as she spoke with the media.
I want to add that the Inspector General of Police has announced zero tolerance for weapons. What it means is that even VVIP and bodyguards to ministers, parliamentarians will not be allowed to carry their sidearms or weapons into the polling stations. They may have to hand over their weapons at the police stations, and then they can accompany them into the inner perimeter of the police stations. On the other hand, they may not be allowed to accompany them. They may stand 100 meters away from the polling station and wait for their principals. Once they exercise whatever they are supposed to do, they come and they can escort their principals and provide whatever security they intend to provide for them. The Inspector General of Police has announced the deployment of what we call the Black Maria. The Black Maria is a specialized purpose vehicle that we are going to use to accommodate miscreants who intend to create any mayhem or cause confusion during the elections.
Oh, so we just heard from the police on their plans for the Akwatia by-election. I'm going to bring back now security analyst Richard Kumado, and also joining the conversation is Vice Chairperson of the Civic Forum Initiative, Dr. Emmanuel Ansah. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Richard, let's take off from where we stopped, right? Is the police on the right path now?
Definitely, for every successful election, you will want the Electoral Commission to discharge their responsibilities. If we get to Akwatia and machines do not come early, and people begin to throw tantrums, it's not the responsibility of the police. If we get to Akwatia and there's voter displacement and there's diversions, it's not the responsibility of the police. If we get to Akwatia and the close of polls, coalition and tabulation and declaration of results, there's distortions and duplications and discrepancies, it will not be the responsibility of the police. So we want the Electoral Commission to perform their function properly. Then again, showing the strength and the capabilities and the capacity the police have demonstrated, I am very sure that the police is ready to provide a safer environment for voters in particular to cast their vote. What we are also asking from the politicians is that they have a unique singular role by providing a police station responsibility. they should discharge that properly, and we are going to have a safer and one of the best elections we've ever had as part of a by-election. I mean, for some of us who have worked within the security agencies before, it's a standard procedure that if I should hold a gun and get into Akwatia, I am obliged to walk into the police station and declare it and hand it over to the police until I leave the scene. I would have warned the police not to only allow, they should stop both the bodyguards, the AD camps, and the principals from getting into the inner perimeters. Because some of these principals are high-risk personalities who carry trouble with them everywhere they go. And so why will you hold back the AD camp and allow the principal to get into the inner perimeter? When it comes to election, there are two people you always want to have them around. Those are the election directors and the deputy election directors. Rashid Tanko of the NDC and his counterpart to the NPP, they are the sole responsible for many of the things you are going to see behind the scene for this election. Then, of course, the parliamentary candidates. These are the important people who must have access to the inner perimeter.
Indeed, Richard, let me take quick initial comments.
Persons are observers, and I don't think we need to allow them.
Absolutely. Let's take quick initial comments from Dr. Emmanuel Ansa as well. He is Vice Chair of the Civic Forum Initiative. Doc, you issued a statement earlier seeking stakeholder buy-in for a peaceful election. How well do you think everyone is faring now?
Well, good evening to your viewers and maybe listeners. It's an honor to be with you this evening as well. From the IDEC CFI, Civic Forum Initiative perspective, we seem to get some indication, at least from the words that have been spoken so far by the key stakeholders, that we should look forward to a better thing than we had in the last election, by-election at Abdekuma. We have engaged with the police, we have engaged with the Ministry of Interior, we have engaged with the parties, and we have engaged with the media as well. And so it's our view that from the goodwill that we've received so far, there's at least a commitment, word of mouth. We're yet to see it in action. We pray that it will translate into action.
Indeed, Doc, it's also, very fine time for me to take your thoughts on the confrontation that we saw earlier. How worrying is the situation to you?
Well, I'm not sure that scuffles and little interactions like these could be anything that can necessarily discourage the desire for a peaceful election in the next few days. With funerals, even when there's no election, some of these things occur. So whenever there's a big crowd, you notice that these tensions do occur sometimes. So I'm not sure that this should be translated into what will happen, likely to happen in the election. But of course, it's an indication that we need to be on alert. That's all I would say. But it's not, I wouldn't make it, I wouldn't draw a conclusion out of this experience.
It would appear, as far as point of view is concerned, you both agree that this is a small matter as far as the security arrangement is concerned. But it brings me to you, Richard, when you talk about people being allowed in the inner perimeter. The police has made clear that, look, if you do not have business there, you do not have accreditation, then you cannot be in the inner perimeter. But I want us to remember Blekuma North, the same arrangement was made. In the end, we saw people who shouldn't be in the inner perimeter in the inner perimeter. What steps should the police take now to ensure that their men on the ground are not overly respectful of the politicians and allow them to break the regulations of the election?
I think the IGP is watching you tonight. The police hierarchy are watching you tonight, and you are helping them in that regard. They have just heard exactly what you said. The respect for the politician, the respect for people with high-level personality, risks, ambience. Once they respect them and they allow them in there, they are likely to create problems for them. But Keminni, is it also not surprising that we are attending a basic election where people must form line to vote as a national security high-risk threat? Once we begin to raise our elections as a high-security national security threat, then you are also inviting the police to use a force that is more unreasonable. And then we don't want to see that one at Akwatia. The IGP promised that he's bringing 5,000 men. These men are not ordinary people. These men are the specialized, militarized forces within the military. And he's bringing the Black Maria, which is a mobile van, a prison. I think we have allowed ourselves to be gingered into a frame where we are seeing elections as a civil war. And to that regard, the police have increased the threat. We don't want anybody to cross the line for the police to have opportunity to open fire because they have promised they will do that. So let me just help you, Keminni, to also say that fellow Ghanaians, please, it's just an election. Form the line. The police is your friend. If you have difficulties, speak to the police. They are prepared. They are ready. They have the capacity to create a safer environment for voters to cast their vote for their preferred candidate, and for the Electoral Commission to collate the results and declare the winner. And we'll all come back to Accra very safe. Do not cause trouble and allow the police to come after you in the prepared manner that you will not be able to withstand it. And let politicians behave themselves for once. Please. And this is the only country we have. And we are tired of political violence in this country. It doesn't help anybody's interest.
Very well. Richard, I'm going to come back to you. But Doc, on the subject of the police wanting politicians and politicians' handlers leaving or temporarily surrendering their firearms, do you see our politicians actually adhering to this?
Well, I hope and pray that people will be honest with these. But let's not forget that if you don't, and you are found with some, I'm very sure that the right processes of the law will be adhered to by the security agents, because the permit that allows you to keep the arms also allows the security agents to give you certain regulations and guidelines. And if there's a kind of, I won't say a state of emergency, but some kind of military or security directive to control the use of arms or the acquisition of the arms within a particular zone, just for peace to prevail, and they don't get your cooperation, I'm very sure they know what to do. And especially if it's found out that because you disobey the rule, something untoward has happened, you have yourself to blame. And I think that's the message the police are sending. They are not saying that they will be successful at making sure that nobody carries any arms at all. They will do their best. They are human beings. Even with all the modern detective gadgets and all things that detect things of people, sometimes people just filter to, like the issue of drugs and all of these things. We have all the controls at the borders, but still sometimes people do get through. So I expect that with the commitment and the goodwill of the police, they will be able to bring it under control, that it will not have any significant effect on the election.
I see. And Richard, you know, as they say, last days are dangerous. We're getting to the peak of the campaigns when the political parties will be looking to mop up whatever is left of support for them. This is the time when tensions are likely to be at its peak. Now, how does the police balance their need to be on the ground, their need to prevent crime or offense of any kind, and, you know, driving people away from voting, if you get what I mean?
Okay, so public education is important. Public awareness is important. Friendliness of the police is important. The police are sending new members into Akwatia, and there has been in and out. When I was at Akwatia, somewhere 14th to 18th of July to do security risk assessment, the police were also there to do what the military would have called wrecking. They have mapped up the police. They are aware of where the vulnerabilities are going to come from. They are also aware of the likely red flags. The police are sending specialized people to the police. Many of these people, some of them will not be in uniform, so they could mess with the society. They find assassin. The BNI will be there. They have been there. Other security agencies in Mufti are already there. My information and checks has confirmed that you are going to have a variety of activities where law enforcement officers will mingle with the society and mingle with the general public. I'm only saying that the police is your friend. Don't be afraid. When your back is against the wall, speak to the police, and they will come to your help. And let's have this election. Let's create fun. And let's vote for our preferred candidate and let the best candidate win, and let's come back. But I can tell you that the police are also very serious and they are firm on the ground and they wouldn't take any chances. Let no politician cross the line. And when the police come after you, you begin to bastardize the police and begin to run them down and begin to run the IDP down. They have given enough warning. Do not cross the red line. You are only there to vote. And if you do not have anything special to do there, please stay back home and let the people of Akwatia vote for their preferred candidate.
Let's brace through the next 10 minutes. Really crucial, right? Because our first test of a by-election was at Keminni Amanor for this year, and we saw how that played out. We know that, when the police arrested and prosecuted today, the eight offenders were handed down fines of 6,000 cedis each. Now, Doc, in that statement you issued, you commended the police for the good work and how swiftly they had dealt with this electoral offense. But is 6,000 cedis deterrent enough?
Unfortunately, I've not read the judgment. I've not read the rules of court that allow people, the judge, to determine the range of the penalty that they pay for these things. Sometimes we as lay people may think it's not deterrent enough, but we go into the law maybe for assault of the kind, depending on the gravity of it, it may range from a certain one level to another. And I cannot say if this is an average one or they have the whole scope of the law, how tough the judgment should have been. I cannot at this stage. It's so fresh. Maybe after a day or two, we all know, and especially with the legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not able to tell the magnitude of punishment that people should get. But at least there's been some punishment, which should be a start somewhere. And I think that in our this republic, it's one of the few cases that we've seen people politically taking on to the full length of being not just prosecuted, but then being tried and given a judgment, as we've seen. So we hope and pray that within the law, I don't have that law now in my hands. I've not read it fully, and I wish that maybe the lawyers will educate us on that. But I pray that it will be still a deterrent. Getting 6,000 cedis today is not easy. And if they continue doing it, the next time it goes 10,000, the next time it goes 20, or it even ends up in some kind of short-term jail term. Maybe I believe in the deterrent, it will be more of a deterrent. But
Indeed, Richard, briefly, same question to you. Is this deterrent?
When it comes to determination of crime prevention and crime prosecution, the judiciary or our justice system play a huge role. Many people have said to me that 6,000 is not enough, but there are three things involved. One, they have been cautioned. Number two, they have been warned. And number three, they place a fine on their head. If we get to Akwatia and you commit similar crime or the same, the perimeters may be different, the unique circumstances may be different, and the kind of crime you commit may be different, and the charges on you may be different. So people should not see and take the law into their own hands. But then again, we need to thank the police. We need to commend the police. But for the first time in a very long time, the police were able to arrest people who engage in political violence, went to court, had judgment. And I think that is the starting point. And this is a crusade I have led many years ago.
But you see, gentlemen,
I'm very happy now.
And indeed, gentlemen, that's the thing. Maybe the law is the problem. The law does not proffer sanctions that are deterrent enough. You recall post-2016, when the Delta forces were also taken to court, 14 offenders, about some 23,000 plus cedis. You break it down, each one of them was then fined about 1,800 cedis. And so perhaps the law itself is the problem. Doc.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that if we think that the fines are inadequate, we are public civil society, we are the public, we are the media, we can agitate for an increase, an uplift of the minimum, so that if the judge is reading the law, he has to read the law. We cannot just use his discretion and say, oh, this one did this, punish this person so much, so I want to punish him also in this other way. The law is what guides us all. So what I'm saying is, I'm not privy to the exact law that guides how much people should suffer for assault. I don't have the range here as I speak. I'm out of town. I told you at the beginning, I'm out of town. I've not had any opportunity to read it, to be concerned with this ruling in particular. So permit me to escape this. As to the issue of the law, we can agitate for it to be changed. I mean, there have been many laws that we've been able to agitate, and they changed them, modified them, especially when it comes to punishment as a deterrent. So I think we can go on that. I mean, in a different discussion. But for now, I think that I want to believe that the judge acted within the law. If he did or she did, then we will have to engage that law and say, look, we won't advocate for a modification of that law.
Very well. And Richard, which is where I'll bring you in. Is it time for us to take a second look at the law and make it more punitive?
Definitely, I agree. Definitely, I agree. For me, crime prevention is what I stand for. But Keminni, there's other side of the equation. When it comes to law enforcement, and you want to deal with crime prosecution and crime investigation and crime prevention, public education is 1, awareness creation is 2, restraining people is 3, cautioning them is 4, serving as giving them a punishment that serves a deterrence is 5, punitive action is 6, and so it varies. And probably these are first-time offenders, and the judge would have considered many of these circumstances. Then they would have given them their fine after cautioning them. And the caution weighs on you heavier than even the fine, that has been given to you. And you will be on the watch list for a very long time. And for police and for law enforcement, from tonight or from yesterday or today when the judgment is passed, you have been profiled as a high-risk personality in society. And it affects you for life. And
indeed, Richard, I'm afraid I'm out of time, but as always, I appreciate your insight on the subject matter. Richard Kumado is a security analyst. Also on this conversation, you heard from Vice Chair of the Civic Forum Initiative, Dr. Emmanuel Ansa. Gentlemen, I appreciate your time tonight. It's still Ghana Tonight here on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. I'm Keminni Amanor. Now, for our viewers in Sunyane who say that I should slow down in pronouncing my name, I'm Keminni Amanor. Now, I've been telling you that polls are already putting the NDC ahead of the NPP as far as the by-election is concerned. It would appear that based on that prediction, the NDC candidate will be in the lead ahead of the NPP candidate. I want us to take a listen to the author of the poll, Musa Dankwa.
The candidate MPP has put forward, the people in Akwatia don't seem to be enthused about him. And also, similar division within MPP is a clear reason why they are disapproving the president, but they are not giving the lot to MPP candidate. Now, let's look at the data. The baseline poll we conducted in Wenchi showed that MPP was leading in Wenchi 77%. Now it has dropped to 49%. That is MPP's World Bank. If they don't hit that 70% in Wenchi, they are completely out of gas there. And then another point I need to point out to you is that 24% of people who were voting for or who voted for Ernest Kumi in 2024 elections have switched their votes to NDC candidates. It means they don't like the MPP's candidate. People who voted for Kumi are hesitant about MPP's candidate. Then finally, 11% of MPP sympathizers are voting for NDC Baby, whereas only 3% of NDC people are voting for MPP candidate. Right. That is where the race is going to be won or lost. Now, if you look at Akwatia voters, majority of them have senior high and tertiary level education. And they're the ones who are backing Bedu to victory because most of them are not supporting MPP's candidate.
Musa Dankwa is the author of the latest poll pitching the NDC at 53% and the NPP at 47% as far as election outcome is concerned. September 2nd is just around the corner. We can have this conversation without hearing reactions from the parties. I've got you covered. Let me show you what we've been picking up from the NPP to start with. The NPP's Deputy General Secretary, Haruna Mohammed, has been telling us the key word here is predict. It's a good one. Listen. And the summary of any prediction is based on if. So what if the if doesn't if? We are confident of surpassing the 52% margin secured by the late Ernest Kumi in the 2020 elections. So here's what you should keep in mind. If the if doesn't if, the NPP is hoping to retain that seat in honor of Ernest Kumi. We are not sacrosanct, and we are not saying recess should not be done. But the reality on the ground will be different. We will prove them wrong this time because the NPP is winning this seat hands down. That's coming from Haruna. But then also there is the NDC on the other hand. Since Monday, we've been in the constituency, says Rashid Tanku Computer, the party's deputy director of elections and IT. Our teams are all over the place, he continues to say. Our strategy is top-notch and our deployment strategy is also top-notch. Everything is working well for us and we will get more than 53%. That is what we are working towards. So we are not surprised with the turn of events. We are going to make sure that we defeat the NPP and give them a heavy defeat come Tuesday. And that Tuesday is September 2nd, 2025. Next Tuesday, that is. We here at your Election Command Center will bring you a full coverage of the Akwatia by-election. But that's how both parties are seeing it at the moment. I think it's a fine time for me to take a quick break. When I come back, let's do a welfare check on our fellow Ghanaians in Benyere. Welcome back. I'm Keminni Amanor, and this is Ghana Tonight, coming to you live on TV3 and on 392.7 FM. Now, tonight, a quick welfare check on the victims and communities of clashes in the Sola and Bole districts of the Savannah region. Let's connect straight with our Savannah region correspondent, because the death toll in the communal conflict in these districts has jumped to 18. We know that 8 are still missing. Those 8 were in that boat incident, according to the National Disaster Management Organization. Now, over 12,000 women and children have since been displaced. So now, quick welfare check with our correspondent, Christopher Amoako. Christopher, we know that you've been to the other side of the border in Côte d'Ivoire. What did you find?
Yes, so Keminni, an unfortunate situation there because more people have migrated or have moved into neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire as a result of the conflict here around the Sola, Tuna, Kalba, and Bole districts. I must say that even the number that we have seen at the at Bokuru in La Côte d'Ivoire is even more than those that are here at the Solar camp. And so it tells us that more people have fled their homes and are seeking refuge and safety in neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire, which is very pathetic, especially looking at the conditions in which they live. They live in the open. Unfortunately, if it should rain, it's going to actually be a worry to them. Their children, women who are there have not actually had their bath for days. Food has become a major challenge, even though the government of Côte d'Ivoire, through their minister in that part of the country, have intervened positively. The Savannah Regional Security Council also today, when they visited, presented some food items to them, which I can say that by tomorrow next, they'll run short of food. And so more food supplies will have to be extended to them in that part of the other West African country.
I see. And you recall also that when the boat incident occurred, those people on the boat were fleeing for La Côte d'Ivoire. Is that correct? What's the update on the rescue and recovery operation?
Yes, it's very correct, Keminni. They were trying to cross the Black Volta into neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire. You know that the Black Volta separates Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, and where they actually passed, the Côte d'Ivoire government has actually constructed a bridge to Chache near the Ghana border, Bole district. And so it was easy for them to cross to the other side. But those from other side like Chinchiri, Dinie, and other places, they could not easily cross because they didn't have any bridge. And so they had to use the canoe. And unfortunately, according to the assembly member of the area, some 20 persons were on board a small canoe. And somewhere in the middle of the journey, the boat capsized, probably because they were overloaded and also because the Bagri Dam has been spilled. And so the pressure on the river is very high. So they got drowned, and 8 persons are yet to be found.
I see. Give us a general update on the security and safety situation in the Sola and Bole districts.
Yes, so the security situation, yes, we are seeing more and more police arrive in Sola and Bole to ensure that they intensify their patrols. But one thing is that because of the escalation, because of the reprisal attacks, we are seeing some new communities that are being attacked. As for the previous communities that were attacked, if you go there, you see police and military officers. So we are not recording more attacks in those areas. We are rather recording fresh attacks in areas that hitherto did not experience any attack. And so that is how it is. So whenever there is an attack on any community, the security are immediately moved into that area to ensure that sanity prevails.
Christopher, Oliver here. Thank you so much for the reporting and the good work on the story. Christopher Mwako is the Savannah region correspondent. Just quick housekeeping before we go. On Sunday, I sit down with the former second national vice chair of the NPP, Sammy Crab. We had a very great chat on the NPP and its way forward. Here's a snippet. The party now that all the angles together and lead the party where it should be. Who is the elder now?
Well, in our constitutional space, we are not like...
No, I know what
cultural,
the Constitution says.
Yeah, so we don't deal with elders.
I understand.
We deal with the person who has been elected to hold the highest office. You know, so even if the person is a young person, earlier you and I were having a conversation and you said that this planning committee called me and I didn't go. Yes, even though one of the things I told them was that even though I know all of you, you are older than me, and I'm a small boy, my position that I'm occupying, the seat is older than you. You understand? So if we accept a constitutional order, we don't bring in those things. So the question should rather be, who do you think should be elected, okay, and has what it takes to take the party, regardless of how old or poor or big or small anybody really is, organize them in a complementary way so that they work in unity to achieve the purpose of winning the election. And that is an individual. And that's what I've been telling you all the time, that it requires someone who has actually gone through the party, and so politics has actually prepared the person, okay? Somebody who's even academic background is such that the person has been prepared to understand these things in ways that certain other people won't. Somebody who's even
I get what
professional background.
I get what you're saying,
come
right?
together to make it happen, not elder.
And I'm not looking for a constitutional definition of the elder. Now, before that election takes place, for new lead executives to come in, for perhaps even a flag bearer to come in, there's about some 14 months in there.
Yeah.
Right? So my question is, who are the elders of the party now that can rein in? For instance, that person can call the now executives, can call even maybe the former flag bearer and say, do this, do that, do this.
Stephen Tim is the eldest.
He's on break.
He's the eldest person in this party. If he's on break, he should be told to everybody.
Well, there's more of that conversation on hot issues this Sunday at 2 p.m. Now, remember, this is crucial because Sammy Crab is one of 3 executives who were suspended from office. Paula Foko, then chairman of the party, Kwabena Japon, general secretary of the party, and Sammy Crab, the second national vice chair of the NPP. They were suspended in the lead up to the 2016 election back in 2015. And this is the first time he's speaking to us on this matter and generally on the NPP's post-2024 general elections life, because he is also running for national chair come 2026. But tomorrow, Saturday, 7 a.m. here on TV3, Alfred Okanse will be on your television with his panelists to discuss the week's biggest story. That is the lineup. We have the usual people there. I see Kofi Bentil. I see Professor Ransford Jampo. I see Martin Pebu. There's Kwesi. I see the Global Info Analytics, Musa Dankwa there, as well, Kwesi Yenin as well. And it's going to be a very fiery 4 hours Saturday morning television here on TV3. I've got to go now. The screaming in my ear is so much. So we'll end it here. I'll see you same time next week on Ghana Tonight. Thank you so much for your company. I'm Keminni Amanor. Bye-bye.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.